Thank you. My legs were getting a bit stiff. I actually wanted to steal one of Mr. Balji's lines on Pravda, but he beat me to it. So, but instead, I'm going to actually borrow a line that actually our president actually mentioned. He mentioned the word insidious. And that actually reminds me of a horror movie out there. It's actually a supernatural thriller and all that. And why am I bringing that into this topic of disinformation? You see, I had a friend, and we like to talk about ghost stories. In the movies and Netflix and so on and so forth. So every time we talk about those movies in which you have a exorcism ritual, and it's funny. Because we notice a certain trend, whether it's a Thai ghost story, Korean ghost story, English ghost story, or something like that, Every time the exorcist, to be able to get rid of that demon, you need to know the name of the demon. Now, apparently, knowing the name is very important because the name of something gives it power. Once you can name something so fluid, once you can name something that you don't really understand, you sort of take away its power because you sort of shed light on it. Now you see where I'm getting at. All right? So it's the problem with this topic of disinformation is that there's just way too much information about disinformation. All right? We can't make sense of what we are talking about anymore. Misinformation, disinformation. What's going on? And suddenly somebody brings up it's nothing new. And then it's true because back in the day we had this topic called psychological operations. Yep. They use this in the military. It's not that new per se. So what are we talking about? And I'm going to end my presentation pretty much the same way I begin because it's not exactly about the truth. Now, what is it about then? All right, so let's take a look at a few things. Yeah, I'm going to start with this. There are two patterns that have been laid bare in the studies that talk about the origins of harmful misinformation, disinformation, how they actually work. How does this monster actually work? One is what they know called the information void. And like what Nicholas mentioned earlier on, when there's a sort of something new on the horizon, you don't really understand it. COVID, vaccines, things we've never imagined before. And suddenly the whole population has to take it, It's scary. You see, when there is that information void, all you need to do, and here's the part I'm trying to get at, you just need to seed an idea. You don't need to explain everything. You just need to seed it. And you see, all of us have buttons. If I want you to do what I want you to do, or to believe what I want you to believe, I need to know your trigger. So what is your trigger that I need to press? And more often than not, in fact, I wanted to ask this with Mr. Balji and Nicholas as well, which is a bigger trigger? And studies have shown there are three very powerful triggers. Number one, it's fear. What scares you? I just need to press on that. The second one is your inherent bias. We're all born with certain slants of what we think is right, what we think is wrong, who we think is good, who we think is bad, who we feel morally superior to, who we feel are beneath us. These are all triggers. The other one is, of course, there are way too many experts out there. I get kind of scared, when they say this expert in this, subject matter expert. Too many experts out there, way too many experts. All right, so if I try to avoid that term like the plague. But the thing is that we are living in a world where there is a distrust of everything that you read. And I think, Mr. Balji, you started with that. Who do you believe anymore? And if you're living in a condition in which you don't know what to believe, who to believe, what is that going to do to you as a person? What is that going to do to you as a society? What are you going to bring back? What are you going to tell your children when you yourself are not very convinced of what is the truth? It's scary, all right? So this is the world we're living in. The thing is, the third point is what I want to emphasize on. Doubt seeding works like this. It's insidious, just like that movie. The demon comes in and sort of whispers in you. It doesn't need to do much after that, then it disappears. Because your imagination, your inherent triggers, do everything else. That's what I'm getting at. And that's how disinformation works. Just press the trigger, see the conspiracy, press the right triggers, and then let your imagination do all the rest of the work. Now, the second pattern is about destruction of information. What do I mean by destroying information? It's because if there is an accepted belief in society, I am trying to disrupt it or I am trying to destroy it, all right? Now, the idea is to create misleading impressions. Back in the day of PSYOPs, we talk about gray and black operations. Of course, black operations means that you're seeding a lie. Gray operations is where it gets very interesting because it's not a lie, it's half a lie. Or a little bit of truth and a little bit of lie, or mostly truth but a little bit of lie. It's up to you. All right? But that gets spread around. Now I need you to look at this. This was yesterday. I took this from TikTok yesterday. Now, as you do know, there has been a kind of a lot of disinformation campaigns from both sides of the houses. You have some coming from Ukraine, you have some coming from Russia, so on and so forth. And yes, it's been in the news, we all read about it, we know about it. But what is interesting is, there was a little meme that was going around, and maybe some of you may have seen it on TikTok, but I'll explain it to you. So it's kind of humorous because when it first comes out, it says that, if Russia attacks Singapore, what do we have? Then they show certain planes and this and that other countries have. But then later on, when they come to Singapore, they make fun of it, So instead of planes and tanks, you know who we have? We have that lady who didn't wear the mask. Yeah, you're laughing. So you see, that's the idea. And then we have Satay Boy. Who the heck is Satay Boy? I know, sorry, but, can I POFMA this? Can I put a correction order to this? I can't. This is under the category of satire. Now, what is fake about it? What's so fake about it? Yeah, okay, let's not talk about Satay Boy. I have no idea who the heck that is. All right? All right? But the thing is, what is the impression that is being created? The impression that is being created is that we are not ready. We decided to take a position against a superpower, all right, which was a foolhardy thing to do. That was the impression that was created, all right? So when you have enough of these memes and humor and all that going around, it creates the impression that a lot of Singaporeans are against the government's decision to basically condemn the invasion of Ukraine. That is fake, all right? And do you know how insidious it is? I take Grab. No, it's got nothing to do with Grab, but please hear me out. All right? So there was one time when all this was coming out, and I took a Grab thing, and then I don't know why, but we just talk about everything, and the Grab driver was talking about the invasion of Ukraine, which was quite fresh back then. And then he said, wow, terrible, how now Putin going to send aim his nuclear rockets at Singapore already now, And I'm like, what the heck? Why are you talking about this? I'm just late for an appointment. You know what I mean? I had a Grab driver. I got nothing. I'm not saying that he doesn't scrutinize things or anything like that. But here was someone, a man on the street, who was talking about this issue in this manner. And I asked him, sorry, but uncle, where you get this idea, Yeah, my friend sent me one link on what TikTok. Yeah. But you see what's happening here? Is it about truth or is it about impressions? Let's just move on. Let's understand this demon a little bit more. So just moving on a little bit faster. Back in the day, all right, you had conspiracy groups. Now they sort of upgraded themselves. They call themselves truth seekers. Look at the word truth. Pravda. Yes. But that label truth is so, and gallant. I am a truth seeker. Instead of I look for conspiracies. Look for conspiracies, I'm a nut job. But I'm a truth seeker. I am part of the vanguard who is willing to stand up against the man, against the elite, and reveal the truth for what it is by stripping away all the disinformation and the misinformation to all the sheeple out there. You know, does that sound familiar, Nicholas? You know what I mean? So Jürgen Habermas, sociologist, he came up with this idea of the ideal speech situation. There is this impression that on the internet, well, the ideal speech situation is that you can have a perfect conversation in which ideas are free-flowing and so on and so forth if there are no power dynamics. That means I do not feel that I am anything lower than you and you are not anyone higher than me. We are equals. So our conversation can be among equals. And there's this impression that on the internet, anyone can be a citizen journalist. Anyone can take and talk about it and so on. It is a conversation among equals. I can have a voice. I can have a presence. I can have a face, and it'll be recognized on the internet. Maybe in the real world, nobody cares. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So then the central and peripheral and heuristic processing make a very complicated thing very easily understandable. If I need to buy a vacuum cleaner, what do? Go to Lazada. I'm not promoting Lazada. I'm just saying, like example, Lazada or Shopee. Oh, great, now the song is running in my head. No, but the point is, more often than not, you will just click on something or ask someone who's a friend of yours who is a vacuum cleaner salesman, and they will point you to, maybe a good brand with a good power output, whatever, so on and so forth. The thing is, we often crowdsource for answers. We want a quick solution. We want a quick answer. We Google for it. Do you honestly, I have the time right now, go through every single vacuum cleaner brand in Singapore, compare the specifications, and then do a detailed study and then put it up for funding? Sorry, put it put it up for, where did that come from? Put it up for, do a detailed analysis and so on and so forth, and then finally I'll do a peer review, and then I come to a conclusion. Yeah. Yes, Emily. Yeah, so of course I'm not going to do that. But the thing is, with the central and systematic processing, you apply discernment a bit more because you're carefully going through everything. But in this day and time when people want instant answers, especially our youth, what do you think they're going to do? They go for the answer that comes to them, not just the quickest, but there are some other attributes. We'll discuss this in a while. All right? So this is what we've been seeing, the rise of truth-seeker movements, and it was predicated on a lot of things that are happening in the world out there. I research on the far right, but just to let you know, it is a strange bedfellows that we are watching these days. All right? So, those who made the, the attack on Capitol Hill, yes, a lot of the far right, but it's three groups. Strange bedfellows coming in. You had anti-liberal far-right hysteria against migrants, certain minority groups, and so on and so forth. Then you had another group that just does not believe state narratives. You had anti-vaxxer groups, conspiracy groups. Then you had those who are just against government overreach and all that. They're all coming together under a common banner. And a lot of disinformation was starting to come from these three groups in particular. There were more. But just to move on, how does an online conspiracy begin? There was an actual study that was done on this, and this was a study that if you take the COVID-19 vaccine, it will change your DNA and you turn into a lizard with a tail. Sorry. But basically, yeah, that's the latter part of it, but basically it means that it changes your DNA. But here's the thing. When it first came out, just to let you know, it was an original article by Bill Gates that was taken way out of context. And then what happened is that nobody reads the article much. They read the post that accompanies the article. So this article was sort of posted around, and then people started adding claims. And these claims, a lot of it came from New Age wellness practice, alternative medicine, astrology, activist circles, and so on and so forth. It came from that group. And the thing is that people keep adding on to these claims and then sort of pass the parcel along, and it creates a kind of critical mass of its own. Now, what happened, of course, is cherry-picked comments that you're talking about. And the thing is that nobody ever reads the full article. Do you see what I'm getting at? They just look at the post, what it's talking about. It's sort of like they expect the post and the claims to basically explain everything. And that's what we saw in this study. And just to move things along, the fact was that a lot of the people who added these claims, who claimed to be doctors and so on and so forth, they were pseudo-experts. They called themselves a doctor in this, a doctor in that, but those doctors ended up being people who are dealing with homeopathy and so on and so forth. They were not really doctors, medical doctors per se and so on. And of course, you did have doctors. All right? You had doctors who actually believed in some of these conspiracy theories, but more because they believed in some of the political ideologies behind these narratives. All right? So doctors were not immune to disinformation. And that's accompanying music to my presentation. It's jazz. I love jazz. But anyway, thank you. No, it's okay, it's all good. But just coming back to this, was there fact-checking done? Yes, there was a lot of fact-checking done. There's a lot of fact-checking, not fact-checking. A lot of fact-checking that was done, but the thing is, nobody ever goes to the fact-checking websites. Reuters has one, a few other agencies have one, but well, I guess they are overwhelmed. Mr. Balji, you mentioned him, and I'd like to repeat the quote again. You know, if you don't know the past, this is Professor Wang Wanyu. If you don't know the past, you're a victim of any story that comes along and you don't know what to believe. You just believe something that is said more often than others. You mentioned about the past. For me, I want to mention the second part. All right? If a lie is said often enough, convincingly, it becomes the truth. So, what makes a good online conspiracy? Number one, cherry-pick facts that appear credible. And of course, I need to tap on your existing triggers. All right? If you have a certain bugbear, I just have to tap on that, or your existing bias, your slants, and so on and so forth. And of course, amplified online and triggering those emotive responses. And sometimes, it's not about what is said. It's who is being said by. All right? A convincing message is all about the message, the messenger, and the messaging. All right? So the messaging, of course, is the framing of that message. The message is content, yes. But the messenger, the person who is saying it, is also very important. All right? So when it comes from someone that you trust, now imagine, when I mentioned that a lot of these ideas came from New Age circles and all that, just a little thing I just want to let you know. There was a time I was actually part of many of these groups. All right, I went for meditation circles and all that. There are wonderful people down there. All right, wonderful people who really helped me in my life. But unfortunately, the thing is that there were people who sort of unfortunately ascribed to certain ideas as well within these groups. Let's not label anyone. All right, that's what I'm getting at. But at the same time, when it came from someone that helped you in the past, that someone that you trust, who's helped you with your lives, would you not want to believe what they're saying and give it the benefit of the doubt? That's what I'm getting at. So especially when it came from trusted circles, it had a very profound effect. This is from Singapore, all right? This is the Truth Warriors website. That is Brad Pitt, all right? That is Brad Pitt from the movie, Troy. Okay, so that's Achilles. So do you see the impression that is being created? Again, courage, strength, hope. We are the truth warriors who are out to reveal the truth against the masses. We are the vanguard. Do you see the impression? Now the thing is that I did this some of the narratives that basically that were put out on this website. Look at one of the comments by one of the members. All right. It's simply because we know of people around us who died, suffer from severe side effects, more than we hear about people around us who really got COVID-19 and suffered from it. What do you think they're trying to say? So I don't need the stats, I don't need all that kind of stuff, but my experience, what I see with my eyes, are even more important. My experience, my truth is more credible than anything else out there. And of course, add a bit of memes and so on and so forth. It creates what's the word again? Impression. And yes, 2 of the articles in this website have been served a correction order. Two out of how many? there are still a number of them. This was the data I looked at 2 months ago, by the way. All right, at that time there were 64 articles. That means the other 62 are true. Who else is saying? Oh God! Why? No, sorry. Okay, my bad. Yeah. Okay. No, it's okay. No, we don't need jazz for this, but thanks. This is actually from Iris Ko. All right? She set up a website called Finding Virtual Truckers of Singapore because it's based on an old movie. And you know, Mr. Balji, do you remember an old movie called The Convoy? Okay, never mind. Yeah, maybe. Oh, okay, something's not right here. But anyway, but the thing is that back in then it was a bunch of rebels going against the man. All right, so they all formed a convoy and then they went across. So she formed this group. But look at what she is saying. To date, we have 0 POFMA. So what she's saying is that means everything we are saying is true, no? But POFMA doesn't work like that. POFMA does not penalize people against opinions, does not go for satire and so on. It is falsehood. All right, falsehood. Wrongly represented information, lies. That's what it's going for, all right? I am not saying that POFMA has no effect. It is basically the line in the sand. Sometimes in life, what you need to do is the initiatives that are put forth out there need to be the line in the sand that says that we will not stand for this. But of course, in terms of a strategy, we need to do more than that. That strategy involves winning the hearts and minds of people. All right? So of course, they are manipulating, what's being done against them. To make a very long story short, these are the main narrative themes that I observe from studying anti-vaxxer groups. Number one, the idea that they have their expert voices and alternative studies. They produce their own stats. Of course, they only look at one part of it. It's basically manipulated stats. And then another big theme is that they are here to expose the hidden conspiracy, all right? The conspiracy to silence and so on and so forth. Sometimes their teams take a very moral argument about the children. Look at what the vaccines are doing to the children. And if you're a parent, you don't even want to look at the facts sometimes. It's going to hurt my child. I don't want anything to do with it, all right? Sensational, humorous, emotive memes, legal challenges. That's another thing they are doing now. They're actually suing the government. Yeah, they've actually made some attempts at that. In other words, they're saying, we are not afraid. We are able to stand by our version of what we think is the truth. And that when you say something convincingly, people will believe it. I repeat, when you say something convincingly, they will believe it. All right? So sometimes they try to show that even the vaccinated are against it or forced into it. And this is the last thing, and you can see from these pictures out there, they are basically saying that it's not about the vaccine. Look at how we are being discriminated. All right? You presented these stats, but I just made them sexy by presenting it in the form of a graph. All right? Well, what do these stats mean? Absolutely nothing. Do you know why, if you were to really dissect it? Because, yes, it's from Telegram groups, and some of them happen to be from the same Telegram group and so on and so forth. But, you see, just that impression that they have about, if you just add it up, and there's more out there, this is just one platform, there are other platforms out there. Can you imagine the kind of critical mass that they actually have within their communities and related communities? So just moving along, this is an illustration of one of the themes of Save the Children. They actually came up with this story, and they said that the person down here is the Vice President of the World Health Organization. Fat Shack, it's not. He was never the Vice President of the World Health Organization, but just a spokesman that, that was hired as part of an advisory group. But do you see what is happening there? Nobody checks these things. When the headline comes out, it just says that the European Parliament is against the vaccine. And then, if you didn't know any better, you'll believe the headline more than anything else. So how do you counter it? Yes, go beyond the headline. Look, source checks, date checks. At the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is this. Discern the agenda. If you can't tell the truth, at least find out what is their intention. I repeat, if you can't remember anything else from my presentation, at least remember this. All right? It's not about the truth. It's about the agenda. It's about the intention, and that you can figure out. Check your own biases, check your own ideas, and of course, what is actually is being tapped on and so on, and do your own fact-checking. So in conclusion, it's getting harder, and it's not about the truth. That's what I'm going to end with this. It's not about the truth. It's about impressions. It's about theater, how entertaining it can get, with jazz and all that. Sorry, it's about the agenda. Snippets rule, bite-sized information, and what we are seeing down here today is more and more information entrepreneurs, and just way, way, way too many pseudo-experts out there. We'll talk more during the questions because I think I've run into overtime. But thank you, everyone.